football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of the College Football Road Trip at CFBRoadTrip.com. I've been a little behind. I've been a little sick. I did not post a video last week because I had no voice. But it's probably a good thing because I did post my picks on Facebook and I ended up with a 5-5 record last week, which is my worst week of the season. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't film it. On the other side, I finally have posted my trip about Kansas State on my blog. Go and check it out within the next week. I hope to have my blog out there about my OU Nebraska experience as well. So a lot of things coming up. Well, also only a couple of weeks from my next trip, which will be to BYU at Liberty, followed by Miami and Virginia. So a busy month of October coming up. With all that said, let's jump into Week 6 picks. There's a lot of great games out there. And we're going to start off with the Friday night game out of the Mountain West. We have UNLV traveling to San Jose State. Both of these teams are undefeated in conference play. Both of these teams only have one loss on the season. UNLV a close loss to Cal. San Jose State a close loss to Auburn. Both of these teams are pretty good. I think both of these teams are going to be competing for the Mountain West Championship at the end of the year, which makes this game a very big game. I think a close loss to Auburn is better than a close loss to Cal. Plus, San Jose State is playing this game at home. So because of that, I'm going to give the edge to San Jose State. San Jose State winning at home over UNLV on Friday night. Next, let's move to our Saturday games. We're going to start with the SEC matchup. We have Arkansas traveling to number 23, Mississippi State. Arkansas is obviously coming off their big loss to Alabama. They weren't as competitive as I'm sure they wanted to be, but Alabama, of course, is such a great team. Mississippi State, on the other hand, came off a big win over Texas A&M, which put them back in the rankings. I think after the big loss to Alabama, Arkansas wants to show that they can still be competitive in the SEC, even though they probably won't win the division crown this year. Because of that, I think they're going to be able to go in and pull off the win over the ranked team in this one. I have Arkansas winning on the road over number 23, Mississippi State. Next, we have number 16, BYU, traveling to Notre Dame. BYU obviously had their one big loss, a big loss against Oregon a couple weeks ago. The rest of the schedule has not been that competitive. On the flip side, you have Notre Dame, who obviously lost their first game and then lost to Marshall the following week. They're still trying to bounce back. I still don't think that they have put together a complete game at any point during the season, and that's going to be to their detriment this week. I think BYU is going to have a little too much for them this week as they travel on the road. Number 16, BYU over Notre Dame. Next, let's go to an ACC matchup. We have Florida State traveling to number 14, NC State. Both of these teams are coming off losses last week. Florida State lost a close one to Wake Forest. NC State lost a close one to Clemson. NC State obviously is the ranked team of these two. NC State is the home team in this one. Because of that, I have to give the edge to NC State. I have NC State winning at home over Florida State in ACC play. Let's head back to the SEC. We have South Carolina traveling to number 13, Kentucky. Kentucky had a very close matchup against Ole Miss last week, but Ole Miss was able to pull out the win. They want to be able to bounce back this week. South Carolina is one of those teams that they have quite a few pieces. They just have not been able to put it all together for an entire game so far this season. Once again, that's going to come back to hurt them this week. I think Kentucky's going to want to show a little bit more this week after their loss last week, and they will be able to do that in a win at home this week. Number 13, Kentucky wins at home over South Carolina in SEC play. Let's move to the other coast now. We have Washington State traveling to number 6, USC in Pac-12 play. I think this is going to be a very good matchup this week. Washington State just had their first loss of the season, although it was in a very competitive matchup. USC, again, has the offensive firepower to go against any team in the country. The question is always going to be their defense. playing a game like this at home is going to give USC the edge. I have USC winning at home over Washington State in Pac-12 play. Let's head back to the SEC now. We have Texas A&M traveling to number 1 Alabama. Man, a couple weeks ago, this was going to be a matchup that everybody was going to love, but Texas A&M just has not put it together so far this season. That definitely showed in their loss to Mississippi State last week, and now you expect them to be able to go into Alabama and take off a win against the number 1 team in the country. No way that's going to happen. Alabama just has way too much going on. Even though we don't know the status of Bryce Young, it doesn't matter. Alabama just has too much talent across the board, and it's going to show this week. I don't know what's going to happen with Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M at the end of the season, but it's not looking good for them at this point, and that's going to continue this week. Number 1, Alabama wins at home over Texas A&M in SEC play. Next, let's go to a Big 12 matchup between 2 undefeated teams. I don't think anybody expected that at the beginning of the season. Number 17, TCU, traveling to number 19, Kansas. TCU just absolutely scrubbed the floor with Oklahoma last week. What a great win for them. On the flip side, Kansas had a very close matchup against Iowa State, but they were able to pull it off in the end. That's what you need for a good team to become a great team, is to be able to pull off close wins like this. Because they're playing at home this week, they have College Game Day there for the first time in their history. I'm going to have to give the edge to Kansas in this one. I am now on their bandwagon. I have number 19 Kansas winning at home over TCU. Next, let's go to another SEC matchup. We have number 8 Tennessee traveling to number 25 LSU. Pardon me. Tennessee's up in the top 10. They're undefeated. Heupel has them in the right place. I'm very impressed with what Tennessee has done so far this year. LSU, after their embarrassing loss in week 1, has put together a couple good wins. They have a win over Mississippi State that is now ranked. The rest of their matchups has not really been against great competitive teams. They have a win against Auburn. Tennessee just has a lot going for them. They want to be able to compete in the SEC East with Georgia. With the way Georgia has struggled the last week or so against Missouri, especially last week, Tennessee has a chance to compete for the SEC crown if they end up pulling off that win. Because of that, I think Tennessee has the advantage in this matchup. Number 8, Tennessee will win on the road at number 25, LSU in SEC play. And then finally, another Pac-12 matchup of 2 ranked teams. Number 11, Utah, traveling to number 18, UCLA. UCLA is another one of those teams. They're undefeated. It's a surprise they're undefeated. They've had a couple really close matchups that maybe they shouldn't have won, but they pulled it off, so good for them. Great job for Chip Kelly to try to get UCLA back on the competitive bandwagon. Utah has looked really good after their opening loss against Florida. They've blown out most of the teams they've played since that loss to Florida. They have all the momentum on their side. That momentum will continue this week as number 11 Utah will win on the road at number 18 UCLA in the Rose Bowl. So those are our matchups for this week. A lot of really great games. I'm excited for them. Notice I didn't even have to pick the OU-Texas matchup, with both of those teams struggling so far this season. Again, within the next week, I hope to be able to post about my OU-Nebraska trip. My Missouri-Kansas State trip is out on the blog. Go check out everything I did when I was in Manhattan, Kansas. In the meantime, go enjoy the Week 6 games, everyone, and we will talk to all of you again next week.